Day two. Can I believe it? No. Is it amazing how fast a day can go? And then all of a sudden I'm making sure everything works. So here's the wonderful thing. I have the chat working now, which means if you see me looking over here on the right, it's because the chat is up and running. So you can type in notes and you can type in where you're from and anything that you want questions answered. So yesterday we spent a good bit of time on understanding the importance of goals. It really is the most important first thing that we do. But I also think it's to help us all understand how to honor the fact that we're here on earth to live a wonderful, glorious life. And sometimes, now I came from corporate and they were always doing the SMART goals, which were, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and I don't even know what the T stands for. That type of programming in our head doesn't help us because it's compounding this idea that we can only grow a certain percent or 2 or 3 or 4 every single year. And it's why I take that first day, because my promise is from where you start on Monday to where you're going to end up on Friday, you'll feel a shift in understanding, a shift in, I'm going to say knowledge, but I'm going to say implementation because it's the work that you do behind the scenes. When I get to help some people, the most important sentence I tell them is that it's the work that is done between the times that we have conversations because we're learning how to study us. So the goals are really important and it needs to be something that we're excited about. And sometimes we have to work up to it. And it's understanding that if we've never really worked towards something as big and bold and beautiful as what we may have listed, all sorts of noises are going to come up in our head. So that was why on day one. And we had some great Zoom conversations and some I missed. And this is a work in progress. Done is better than perfect. And so there's some challenges in the WhatsApp. It should be. WhatsApp is not as popular in the US. I think I said this yesterday, but you can access it on your phone. And so like today, I'm going to say, take a picture of your notes about the stick person and then just post it. You can also send it to that support@ellentylercoaching.com. But I want to reward and recognize the ones that persevered and persisted. And so Diane, Donna, and Carmen, I didn't get to chat with you because of the time that it reflected that you popped in the Zoom room. But send me an email, and it's also in the workbook, so you don't have to worry if you didn't write this down. Send me your name, send me your address, and I am going to pop some wonderful surprises and books in the mail. And it's just really to just encourage the work that's done behind the scenes is the most important work. I'm going to try and get this all done in 60 minutes today. So this is one of those days that it sounds simple because it is, but I'm going to build the layers of understanding what we call the knowing doing gap. And so I wanted to just share, and I'm going to try and make it brief, a story about when I first worked with my mentor. So a long time ago, I hired Bob Proctor before anybody knew the movie The Secret and made all those individuals in it a household name. But I also came from financial services and we're very logical and we have calculators in our head. And so I worked with him. I had tremendous results. In fact, astounding results that to this day, it's almost hard to believe and I want to pinch myself sometimes. But here's where that story ends. You think I would have hired him again and worked with him again. But in that world, I was acquiring they had designations, certified financial planner, a whole list of them. And so I thought it was one and done. I did the work. I had great results. I must understand this, right? No. Remember I said yesterday that we're always working on a goal. And if we can just really grasp and entertain that, it doesn't matter what number on the birth certificate it is, because really age doesn't matter. But if we think it matters, then that's going to be one of the hurdles we have to overcome. But all your life, you're going to be working on goals. So I didn't hire him. I went on my merry way. And in the world that I worked for a profession, you had a very good income. You could just be average and have a mediocre income. And it was the last corporate role that I held for a company in financial services. But if you've ever had like the wrong fit job for your personality, that's exactly what it was. Because it entailed, I got to talk to people and learn their stories and understand where they wanted to go in, let's say, retirement, or how they wanted to spend their money. Because I love stories and I love helping people have a wonderful, great life, even when I was in that world. But here's where it really started to grate. Once that the individual or individuals decided that, yes, this was the company they wanted to work with, I had to tell them that I was no longer their point of contact. Now this is when I wish I could see people's faces, because I'm a people person. So this whole thing about YouTube and everything, it's just getting used to. I was so unhappy in that role because I personally feel responsible. If I'm helping somebody, and in that world, if I was helping them, I didn't know how good the next person was going to be. And so I knew I either needed to find another coach or a therapist. And that's really what I said, because I just wasn't happy anymore. And to the credit, I was, like most people, looking on social media and up popped Bob Proctor again. And I thought, oh goodness. Now, we lost Bob a number of years ago, but around 2015, 2016, he was still going strong. And so, of course, I signed up for his, like this. He was doing a 3-day workshop. And I said, of course, I'm going to go. I didn't hesitate to work with him again. So I hired them to coach me because I recognized, and then it finally hit me. We are always working on goals. Always working on goals. So that accountability and the mentoring, I'm not sad about that length of time, because it gives me perspective of when I get to have a conversation with someone about helping them understand. If we're always working on our goals, then maybe we should be actively involved in it. And so it was just my aha moment of goals are always happening. So if goals are always happening, then let's get on board and have some fun with it. So I want to share a little bit. Well, actually, I think I'm just going to read. It was probably so many different things. I don't even know what it's interesting when we're just going to do this, because then it lets me do an interact. So I'm going to read some. I'm just going to scroll down. Now, if you haven't printed this off, you can certainly, like I do, I will pop it up on my computer and I will go through. But I want to set this up because I'm a big believer of questions. And you'll really understand that as I go through some of the information that I want to talk about tonight, especially with something that we lovingly call the stick person. Because questions cause our subconscious to look for answers. And so the questions are really good to sit with. It's why when I put together this workbook that I took the questions that were from when you registered, and we asked some of the questions if you click through that, but they're just helpful to really think about walking through that. So I'm actually, I'd rather be on camera. And I printed mine out. So I want to just go through, I'm just going to read them because I just want you to sit and hear it. So sometimes when I get to be with a group of people, and like now, and we're going to go through some items, I always say, you're not meant to have to remember everything. That used to be me. I would write down everything. I would pause a video, write down more. That's really not the way to implement the learning, because who you are today is different than who you were 3 months ago. And I'll talk about the importance of repetition and why that helps us move closer to our goals when we understand it. But it's also the repetition of questions and reading and studying and learning more about ourselves. Because when we get to a different place, we're going to answer the question differently. And we're probably going to have some new ones. So, the first question is, do you work hard, but you feel like you're not moving forward? Do you work hard? Replace, do I work a lot? Do I feel like I'm just not getting ahead as fast as I want to get ahead? It's the other way that I would look at it. And do you change goals because you doubt that you can achieve them? And I'll give you some context. I'm helping somebody right now. I talked to him, I don't know, for maybe a year. And he actually wanted to lower his goal this year from what it was last year. He wanted to change it. And it was because he didn't have the tools to understand why he wasn't hitting the goals. So remember, I said today is all about why less than 3% of the population actually achieve their goals. And it's not what most people think. And he was just at that point of, I'm going to set a goal because I'm starting to feel really bad that I never achieve them. So I'm just going to let you sit with that. Do you believe your results are determined by something you can't control? He did. Until he understood what we're going to talk about today. Do you believe your results are determined by something outside of you that you have no control over? When you achieve something, do you immediately start worrying about the next thing? Also replace that, do you immediately start worrying that what you just did is going to go away? That's the other thing. So it's just when we get to that and we've had great results, does doubt and worry enter into the equation? Do you feel like others are more capable than you, even though you have similar experience? Because it can often sound like this. They can do it, but I can't. They're luckier than I am. They were born in the right family. They travel in the right social circles. You can keep going with any of that. We are all capable of achieving anything. If you can have a thought about what you want as a goal, you can have it. Because you wouldn't have the thought if you couldn't have it. It's a whole nother thing, but let that settle in. If you have a thought of a goal that you want, you wouldn't be able to think that if it wasn't possible. When things don't go as planned, how does that make you feel? And the word in there is blame. And I don't know, lately, the strength of words, I just want to dial it back some, because blame is such a strong word, but it could just be softened up a little bit. And do you struggle with believing you deserve to earn more money? This is where that ceiling comes in. Do you struggle with believing you deserve to earn more money? We're going to talk about that on Thursday. Do not miss Thursday. Of any of the days, do not miss Thursday. There's a difference about being live, even though I can't see you on here, because it is energy and it's frequencies. And then in the workbook, it asks you to just sit and rate yourself. Now, here's the other thing. The reason I don't want people to really work on this while I'm talking is my ask is to be humble and honest. Because see, if we don't acknowledge and we're not aware, then we can't find the solution, because we actually are the solution. So we need to feel it honestly and humbly for ourselves. How confident are you that you can achieve the goal you've chosen? And it's okay with whatever you put there. How much do you believe you can change who you are? How willing are you to think differently about yourself and your possibilities? Remember yesterday I said the two biggest questions is, am I willing and am I able? I'm able. I have to be willing. How much do you believe your future is already set? I'll just say this. I'll tiptoe into quantum physics. Infinite possibilities exist. And when you understand quantum particles, and I'm just really going to stop there because that's a whole nother conversation that I couldn't even cover in 60 minutes. All infinite possibilities exist. How often do you feel like you're on the right path, even when the progress is slow? So those, I would encourage you to just jot down some answers to it. And again, we're either winning or learning. We're winning or learning. Oh, Donna, you're in California. Nice and sunny and warm. I just noticed that. Again, the chat's teeny tiny. Answer those questions honest and humbly. Now, this is when I wish I had figured out. I'm still working, work in progress. We're all a work in progress. All of you are. Of figuring out how to have a whiteboard here so I could draw. So the next best thing is I want to just bring the picture up and you'll understand. And I gotta find the picture. Where did I put this stick person? Oh, it might not be here. You might have to give me a moment because I really need to find this. Or it's in your book and I bet I did that. Okay, we're just going to do that. So in the workbook, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to the workbook and I'll tell you why. Because I just want to show you the picture. And then I'll talk about it from there. So in the workbook, you have this lovely little drawing called the stick person. So you'll notice a big head. That's really the head. It's a big, 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 big head with a line drawn through it. And so I'm I'm going to verbally walk through what I would write on the whiteboard if I had this. And so I want to make sure that, oh, there's the stick person. I am going to bring it up. Just going to do this while I talk about it. It's like, can you walk and chew gum at the same time? Not always. So, oh, I'm going to make you see that. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. I'll get this right sooner or later. Yeah, just probably take me 30 seconds and then I can get it done. Add a source image. Because if I pull it up, it's a little bit easier for me to walk through. And so while I'm going through the machinations, I will say that this was created in the 1930s by Dr. Thurman Fleet, who would have been recognized as a chiropractor. And he was studying the healing arts and recognized that we weren't treating the cause, we were treating the symptoms. So now I'm going to bring this up because I just feel better if I have this picture. You have it in there in your workbook, but I want to walk through this. And it's just a way to understand what is really occurring in your mind. Now, most people, when they hear mind, they think the brain. And that's not our mind. Our mind, hang on, hold on to your seats, is actually also outside of our body. It's in every cell of our body, but it's also connected to the consciousness. And again, another quantum, but we won't go down there. But if you could just accept that your mind is not your brain and that it controls the actions and the activities of what you do and what you accomplish. And so what Dr. Thurman Fleet drew in this figure, he has the conscious mind up at top. Now that's your thinking mind. So this is where all of our thoughts can originate. And we accept or reject in our conscious mind. What surprises most people is that 5% of our actions come from our conscious mind. It's 5% conscious, 95% subconscious. And that's why we're going to spend a bit of time on this so that you can understand what's really happening and occurring. And this is why sometimes telling stories is what makes it sink in. But what he found is that 5% is our conscious mind. So that's like our prefrontal cortex. And it's really how we accept or reject or originate ideas. So if I said to somebody, the sky is pink or red, because I always remember red sky at night, sailor's delight, red sky in morning, sailors take warning. Don't ask me why. My dad was a fisherman. But if I said the sky is red, somebody's going to go, but no, it's not. So we can reject it. This is also where we begin to reject that goal you just set. I set a goal that I want to be a 7-figure business owner by the end of this year. This is where the first guard is guarding the gate, because your subconscious mind is where our paradigms sit. And we'll talk about that. But it cannot reject and it has to accept. And if you remember yesterday, I said for the first 7 or 9 years of our life, we are in theta. And this is exactly what is happening. It is accepting everything that it sees, hears, observes, interprets is going on around. It cannot determine the difference between what is real or imagined. Very important aspect to understand. It cannot tell the difference between what is real or imagined. So when you hear stories like when Jim Carrey wrote himself the check for $10 million and dated it and carried it around in his wallet, his subconscious mind could not tell the difference between what was real or imagined. And if you have or have not heard that story, that was the story of when he signed to be the role of the mask for the exact dollar amount that was on the check. Your subconscious mind cannot determine the difference between what is real or imagined. Now, the gold cards, and like Jim Carrey writing that dollar amount on the check, it's also the constant repetition of that. Because what we want to do is build some new neural pathways that's telling it a different story than the old story that it believes is true. This is the premise of understanding those thoughts and feelings that are in our subconscious mind are causing our body, and that's why this is drawn in here, to take actions or to not take actions. So if Bob used to always talk about people who want to lose weight. So, and I try to mix it up because we might get stuck on one topic or another. But he would talk about, I can't see you, but I like to pretend people like to see people instead of slides all the time. He would just tell the story of the answer is, but I don't know why I did that. You know, if somebody wanted to release weight and he would say, you know, then why are you eating the piece of chocolate cake? Because I thought you wanted to release some weight. And when I say release, I really mean that. We never lose weight because you find what you lose. So for anyone who is on a health journey, release is the best word you could put on your goal card. So that would have been an interesting topic. Because our subconscious is controlling our actions, and it's why 97% of the people don't accomplish their goals, because when we're not aware of all of that programming that happened to cause us to believe something, that's why I always say get it out on paper, and the question is, but is this really true? Is this really true? So when I was growing up, my brother is 14 months older than me. I think I told this last night, but the importance of it is to understand. I told myself he was smart, which meant if he's smart, then what am I? And I was well into my adulthood when I thought, I have to stop telling that story. Because when you put it on paper and go, but is it true? No. My brother dropped out of high school as a sophomore. So, okay, he's smart, but there was only one person in our family who was going to go to college. And he was ahead of me by 14 months. It would have been him. But that loop was playing in my head. He's smarter than me. He really is smart. Smarter than me, smarter than me, smarter than me. And then there's things along the way that it causes us to find a way to explain the story so our subconscious and our paradigm can accept it. So when I was in college, I had the opportunity to go to the City University in England because my roommate was going to go on a journalism scholarship and she was afraid to talk to the professor, so she dragged me along. My major is nuclear medicine. Whole nother conversation. And I'm sitting there and the professor looked at me and he said, would you like to go to school in England? Now, I'll give you some background. English was not my favorite subject. It's not my favorite subject in school. But going to England, you're talking to a 19, 20-year-old. Would you like to go to school in England? Yes, sign me up. So I went to school in England with my roommate, 2 girls out of the 10 that were there. Now, I promise you, this all ties back together of the not being smart and not liking English. my roommate and I were the only two people offered to stay and finish our education at the City University in England. So who's not smart? And then I got all A's in journalism. So you know what story I told? For a long, long, long time, I told the story that they must have been easy on us because it was the first year that the University of Iowa had gone on an exchange program there. I had to make up a story so my paradigm in my subconscious could find a way to grapple with how did she get A's in journalism. The reason I like stories and podcasts and Rags to Riches stories is everything I'm going to talk about tonight, you're going to hear, because you can hear it when somebody starts explaining it like this. We have that computer program running in our head. And so our job, your job, is to write a new program. Bruce Lipton has great ways of describing this, and he just really says, no, you did not put the program in your head. You didn't. He explains about epigenetics and a whole host of things. But just because you didn't put it in your head, who is going to rewrite it? We're going to rewrite it. You have to rewrite it. Nobody is coming to save us. We are the problem and we are the solution. So let's start looking into what is really, really going on. So we talked about goals last night. And goals are always, when I'm always describing them, you'll notice the stars drawn up on the right. For some reason, that's just what I do. We're here on the left, it's up on the right. And we call this, we know what to do, we're just not doing it. And there is this huge gap between what we know and what we do. Because if I'm going to do and be and have the things of the person at the goal, I have to change my programming. I have to be the smart one. I have to be the one who can figure things out and got A's in journalism. If you're going to do this, it's sign up to change that computer program, because that is what we're going to do. It is understanding in a different way of looking at it. This is where you are. That's where you want to go. And the two things you have to know is I'm willing, I'm able, and I've got to change my program. But this is what is going on. We get stuck there because your paradigms are in the way. And your paradigms, I used to not like that word. I do think it gets used too much, but it's your subconscious and it's your habits, and it's really wanting to make you sure that you're safe. And it doesn't like change. That's why tomorrow we're going to talk about fear. It wants you to stay safe. And so if safe means that my business only grows 10% a year, it does not want me doing anything out of the ordinary that's going to cause a change to that. It wants me to stay exactly where I am. And so this is the battle that you have going on. This is what's going on underneath the hood. That's controlling 95% of what happens in your life. And so if it's controlling 95% of things that are happening, this is what it looks like. Our subconscious mind causes us with how we look at things, and it has an influence on how we perceive things, how we use our time, our creativity. I have, well, all of my daughters are artistic. All of them. I do not have an artistic bone in my body, but I'm still creative. Because while they can paint and one is a jeweler and they just make beautiful things, I quilt. So we are all creative. It just comes out a different way, but it has an influence with how I think about that. It has control over how effective we believe we are, our productivity, and our logic. And so I added a few in there after I did this one, so I wanted to make sure that we covered this. It impacts your ability to earn money. Our paradigm impacts our ability to earn money. It's why the conversation on Thursday was moved from Friday to Thursday. It has an influence in every possible characteristic and personality of our life. Some paradigms are good for us. Because I go to the gym, I eat pretty healthy, say pretty, it's on my list. I'm a good driver. I'm a good parent. Some paradigms are already positive and helping us understand that all we have to do is come up with how did that story become a positive story for us. So when we now understand that stick person and the importance of it, I'm going to go back because it really is. I draw this stick person almost every day when I'm studying. And so I'll walk through some of the things that I'll doodle on there because I am a doodler, but we have to get it out of our mind and we have to get it on paper. And there's 5 questions with the stick person that help in anything. So let's say I was heading into a meeting when I was in my old financial life and I was going to have a meeting with a potential person that I thought I might want to work with. And so here's the first question to ask yourself. What do I hope comes from this meeting? And when people are in sales, I always tell them it is never to have a sale. I would say, I'm going to wait a moment because now it said I was disconnected and now I'm reconnected. Well, let's see what happens with that. The second question is, what do I have to think? So this is the conscious mind. This is what we think about. I'm really good at this. I really like talking to people. I really do think I can help a lot of different things. But most of it is I'm good at what I do and I don't have to get into the minutia. Like when I was in financial, nobody cares about can you calculate a bond's interest rate duration by hand. So what do I have to think? Then this third question is, what do I have to feel? Now, this is the subconscious mind. And remember, it cannot tell the difference between what is real or imagined. And it's a feeling. And it could be as simple as, I really like having great conversations where I can feel that I've gotten the right answers from them. Or I feel like I bring all of myself to the table and I am trustworthy and honest, because that's what people need in that profession. I'm going to show up and be the person that they need. Then the fourth question, what action steps do I need to take? So that's the body. In something like that profession when I was, the answer was ask really good questions and shut up. Ask really good questions and then shut up. Meaning, let them talk. And then I would draw an arrow coming out of the body going to the right because that would show results and reactions. Then it becomes, what's the result of this? And in that world, I would have written down the result is, if I really like them and I think I can help them, I'm going to ask to have their investment statements and do an analysis. That's it. But most people in a sales position are going into that thinking they have to, I'll use the word because I don't like it, close the person. They think they have to close them. And that's exactly not what to do at all. So, simple drawing, big concept. So let's talk a little bit about reprogramming the mind. And I want to give you some ideas about how do you move from the goal that you wrote last night into beginning to reprogram what your subconscious believes you can and can't have. It's really what it's doing. Oh, you can do that. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, you're not smart, but you're okay over here. Our subconscious is programmed just like that. And if you want to see a really great example about what habits and paradigms look like, I always say, so I'm married. I go, if you live with somebody, what is the habit and how do mornings go every single morning? Because I can tell you my habits and they don't deviate. Habits are paradigms. It's a loop. It's ingrained. It's ingrained. It's ingrained. So I have 2 dogs and 2 cats. So we have a process in the morning. And it's interesting because my one daughter, she gets her coffee before her dogs get fed. I'm like, no, I mean, it's just a whole process. And whatever you do, just jot it down because that's your paradigm. Because when somebody wants to start exercising, let's use that, and you have your whole morning routine set up one way, or you don't even wake up early and you want to start waking up early, you're programmed to be one way. And it's why New Year's resolutions, especially about health, don't stand a chance if we don't understand what's going on in our subconscious. James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, had a great illustration of a story with somebody who wanted to get healthier. And here's what he did in the very beginning. First, he just got out his gym clothes. And the next was he got on his gym clothes, got in the car, drove to the gym, came back home. Did not get out of the car. Did that for a number of days. Got in the car, drove to the gym, came home. Got in the car, drove to the gym, came home. What is he doing? He's creating a new neural pathway of, I'm the type of person that goes to the gym, which is the other component of how do we replace these neural pathways. I like to describe it like, I'm old school, a record player. It had deep grooves. And so one has a pretty well-worn path that we're trying to change and become the person that goes to the gym. So that process of getting in the car, driving to the gym, and coming home laid the groundwork of going to the gym and being a type of person that works out. So that's an example of how we can use the repetition and understand that our subconscious doesn't yet know that we're the type of person that goes to the gym. The other part about that is to tell yourself, I'm the type of person that goes to the gym. And if I need to begin in a softer place, it will sound like this. I could be the person that successfully went to the gym 4 days a week for the whole year. I could be a gym person too. I could be somebody who likes lifting weights, because I could be reframes that subconscious again. Because remember, it can't tell the difference of what is real or imagined. If I'm getting in the car and driving to the gym, but I'm thinking, I can't stand this. I don't like working out. I don't like going on a treadmill. I don't like getting sweaty. My subconscious is going to keep me from going to the gym. This is why at 21 days, it's safe to go back to the gym in January. Because at 21 days is when most people stop, because they haven't understood. Willpower alone will not let them push through something that they don't believe they are. They have to understand. When I went to school and got all those A's in journalism, I had to tell that one story because I did not yet understand what I now know, which is my subconscious could not know what to do with that. Had no idea what to do with that fact. Where does it put it in Ellen's subconscious with what she's done in school? And when you think about school, well, let's briefly talk about that because, monthly reports, business revenue income, sales results are just like report cards in school. What we're looking at currently is a reflection of where your thoughts were last week, last month, last quarter, last year. And if it's a reflection of where your thoughts were then, this is when you should get really excited, because by changing and programming your subconscious and your thoughts is how you're going to create new results. So when I said yesterday, you don't have to know how things are going to happen. Your subconscious is also like your reticular activating system, which means, and most people understand this, if I just bought a red Toyota RAV4, what am I going to see driving around all the time? I'm going to see red Toyota RAV4s. So we want our subconscious to start looking for the answers and lining it up for us. And so with the goal, now you're going to ask, okay, Ellen, how do I get that into my subconscious mind? How do I start reprogramming it? So first and foremost, it is repetition. And so some of the ideas I'm going to give you are repetitive based because you're telling a new story. And in telling a new story, things are going to bubble up about what we believe and don't believe, which is okay. You can get those out on paper. But let's just talk about some of the simplicity of how can I reprogram and what are some of the mechanics. So in the goal card that you wrote, and again, you can also send a message in WhatsApp, send it to my email, and I will answer it, because the phrasing of the goal is where it begins. I'm so happy and grateful now that I released 50 pounds and I'm healthy, strong, and vibrant and exude energy. Whatever it is, I will just say whatever pops in my mind. For the people that know me, mine's about doing 10 military push-ups. I had a setback this month, which is interesting when you think about paradigms, because I have a dog that's 85 pounds and we're walking and he flipped me on end on my shoulder and my knee, because my goal was by the end of May, I was going to do the 10 from my toes. What do you think? What do you think that is my paradigm? Because that didn't just happen. Actually, I have really strong bones, but I look at things differently. Is it going to cause me to regress and not do 10 military style push-ups? No. Now I'm more committed than ever. So take the goal. I'm so happy and grateful now that I easily and effortlessly do 10 military style push-ups with fun and ease and joy. And then I'm going to go two different paths because there's two, they all intersect, but you can do a couple. And we'll talk about Maxwell Maltz and psychocybernetics because he was brilliant about self-image. And I have 10 minutes because I am determined to make sure that this doesn't go too long. So one of them is to write the goal on the goal card. So like this, the goal card. And read it at minimum morning. And so here's the other thing. When you know what's on your goal card, by just touching it, it goes to your subconscious because I know what's on this card. I know what's written, but it's the repetition. So I encourage people to write it out in the morning, write it out, and then you might just start script from it. Like, what does it feel like? What am I doing? 6 months from now doing the military push-ups, am I going to do pull-ups? The answer is no. I do not want to do a pull-up. But write every morning the goal out on a clean sheet of paper and then maybe expand on it and write it morning and night. And at the beginning of the day, have gratitude and talk about the things that you're grateful for that are seen and unseen. See, the magic bridge of gratitude is to talk about things that are not visible yet in your world because there's expectation that comes. And then if you could, and Google and AI is your friend, write either a description of what you're doing the day you've achieved the goal, which is all the feeling things. What do you smell? What are you eating? What do you see? Where am I sitting? Is the sun shining? And then record it. So on iPhones, I think it's called Parrot. On Androids, it's called Voice Recorder. Record it with a little bit of music. You can find anything on YouTube because it now has music at the top in a loop. And then add a couple I am statements. I'm a successful 7-figure business owner. I am a successful, healthy individual who doesn't shy away from anything, whatever. I am, and also I believe. One of my favorite statements is, I believe my beliefs shape my reality. And then if I need to soften it a little bit, I could. I could be the first millionaire in my family. I could run a marathon. I could be the first person in my family who runs a marathon. A couple of those, record it. Length doesn't matter. It's going to be the repetition. There's Bluetooth headbands for us females because I can't sleep with earbuds in my phone, in my ears. And you record it. You listen to it in the morning, a couple times during the day. If you're in your car, wonderful. You just put it on. And as you're going to sleep. Because here's the magic of as you're going to sleep. Bruce Lipton did a lot of study on this, but also Neville Goddard talked about this in the 1930s. The period of right before you go to sleep. And for those of you who are like me, I fall asleep in like a minute. I'm like, I don't have a problem falling asleep. But your mind goes into theta. So you have the ability to program your subconscious mind all night long because your subconscious does not go to sleep. You go to sleep, your subconscious does not go to sleep. So you could find some great I am statements. There's oodles of them out there. You could find wonderful affirmations and put that on the voice recorder or put it on YouTube and just listen to it as you fall asleep. You are going to program your subconscious mind. It's the fastest way to do it. So it's why it's one of the things I always recommend. Sometimes people look at me like I'm a little bit nuts about that, and I am. But as Bob used to say, do it until you can prove me wrong. Because if you can imagine it, and it's also imagination, Neville Goddard talked about having the ability to imagine yourself in the goal. Not always looking at it, because if we're looking at it, it means it's always going to be pushed away. So it's living from the end, living from the end, living from the end. You put that with the recording as you're going off to sleep, and then listen to that 3 or 4 times during the day. That's the repetition that's going to change your world. And aligned with belief. And belief, here's a simple framework. David Bayer, who wrote A Changed Mind, I love this framework. So it takes somebody who thinks they're not this and wants to go over here. If I think I'm not good at sales, but I need to sell a lot from where I want to go, the framework is, what evidence do I have that my new belief I'm great at sales is true? What evidence do I have that I'm a great athlete is true? What evidence do I have that I'm a great creative painter? Fill in the whatever, wherever we are to where we're going and we think we're not. What evidence do I have that I'm a great salesperson? You look for history in you. I sold Girl Scout cookies. I sold $1 billion in financial services. And if I needed to go outside, then you're looking for peers. And you go, if Kim could do it, so could I. You mirror that with the repetition, with the understanding. And because I tell myself when I go to sleep, I'm programming you, subconscious, because you cannot reject. So could you please get to work on this? I just talk to myself a bit. That will change your world. Now, tomorrow, we're going to talk about what happens to everybody. You are going to hit fear. And you're going to hit it pretty strong. But I want to soothe that a bit, because I want you to understand all individuals who have achieved greatness in their life, and greatness can mean anything, have had to go through fear. In fact, I'll probably pull up and play the video of Will Smith skydiving if you haven't seen it. We all have to go through this to get to the other side. Because Ellen, who has the goal, is not the same one sitting here today. She's got to go through some things that she's going to be really uncomfortable with in learning. Tony Robbins, who works with many CEOs, was asked and said, the one common fear that these individuals have is that they can't do what they're tasked with doing. Anthony Hopkins, who's a great actor, always thinks he's never good enough. So this is not exclusive to me. It's not exclusive to you. But I'm going to say it this way, when you understand that it's part of the process, we should be running towards things that scare us. I tell people I get to help all the time. I had a conversation with them on Monday. If you haven't been uncomfortable in the last month, then you're really not working this process. Because it means we're dialing it in and we're doing things that we think are safe. And we're not really pushing ourselves to do something. Whether it's go to a networking event if I don't like to go meet people and I think I'm an introvert. Going and speaking in front of Toastmasters if I want to learn how to speak. If you haven't done something that caused you to be uncomfortable in the last 30 days, then the paradigm is winning. And my goal, especially by Friday, is do not let your paradigm win. Do not let your paradigm win. So, It's like 8:01. Oh, 8:01. Do the questions. Doodle on the stick person. Post it. It's really just a picture in WhatsApp, or you can send it to my email. Those of you send me your address, and I'll get I don't know. I get so many things to pick and choose from. I will get it out to you, and then come ready tomorrow to understand and to embrace that goal that you set on Monday should cause a little bit of fear. And even after today, with understanding that the paradigm's in control and it wants to keep you safe, you just have to get to the other side, because you couldn't have the thought if it wasn't possible for you to do that. I'm going to leave you with that. We are the problem, but we are the solution. So thank you for those of you that are here live. One day I think I'm going to figure out, how can we see people? I miss the days of being in a room and talking to a couple hundred people, because I just like the energy of the room. But here's what I know. I can send energy through the computer and people can feel it, because I learned how to do that a long time ago. So I'm sending you great juju energy. Have a wonderful rest of the night, and come ready to play tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a fun night, and don't miss Thursday. That's all I'm going to say.